Hello ladies and gents. In this video we will see what happens when a UI5 application is started. The entry point of our application is the component.js file, so let's open that up. And here at the very top, as soon as our file is loaded, let's add a console.log here and say component.js file loaded. And once the component is loaded, it loads the descriptor file, our manifest.json file here. And the component then creates the models defined in the descriptor file. If we open that up, here under sap.ui5, we have our models and we have our i18n model and our default model. And next, the init function of the component is called. So once we are here, we already have our models loaded. So let's add two console.logs here. The first one we say models are loaded, and let's also add the models that were loaded with this .get manifest entry, and the entry we want is /sap.ui5/models. And next we can say initializing component. And what happens next is we initialize our router ourselves programmatically. So let's add another console.log here. Initializing router. And next, the router loads the corresponding view or views according to the hash the app was started with. So let's imagine we are starting our app on the home page, so with an empty hash. And if we check our routing configuration, first we see that our root view is the app view. So let's go to our app view. This is the first view that's being initialized, and then it invokes its controller, which is the app controller. So let's open that up, and here on init let's add a console.log and say root view is loaded. And next, our router looks at the hash, which we said would be an empty hash. So this route is hit, and it loads this worklist target, which then displays our worklist view. And in return, it calls the worklist controller. So let's open that up. And again, here on init, let's say console.log initializing worklist view or controller. And after our controller is initialized, our view is rendered. So let's also add on after rendering hook. And again, we simply say console.log worklist view is rendered. And finally, our view is placed into the root view. And for that, let's copy our pattern matched event handler from our object controller and also add it here to the worklist. This route should be worklist because that's the name of our route if we check manifest.json right here. And here we can pass in a function which will just console.log worklist view placed in root control. Now let's open up our app and see what we have for now. Let me hide the errors so it's cleaner. And as you see, first our component.js file is loaded. Then we have our models, i18n and the default model. Then the init function of the component is called. Then inside we are initializing our router. And then our root view, app view is loaded. And then our router is loading the worklist controller because that's the one matching our hash, which is the empty hash. and then worklist view is rendered, and then it's placed in the root control. One interesting thing here to note is that our worklist view is rendered before it's placed in the root control. Now let's also adjust our logs for the object controller. Let's remove on before rendering, and here on after rendering, let's say object view rendered. And let's also get rid of this click handler, and instead here log initializing object view. And now if we check again, everything is the same, and when we navigate into our object view, now that is initialized and rendered, let's also add another log for when it's placed in the root control. Should be here on object matched. And now our app is refreshed while we were on the detail page, on the object page. And now what we can see is everything goes according to plan. And after the root view is loaded, our router will load the object view, because our hash here, product/id, matches that view, and we don't see the worklist view. But let's see if we try to go back, then and only then our worklist view and controller is initialized and placed in the root control. Now let's see what happens when we get out of our application. And for the object view we already have on exit. Here let's log to console destroying object view, and let's copy this and paste into the worklist controller, destroying worklist view, and finally our component.js will be destroyed, and it has this destroy lifecycle method. So we can say here console.log destroying component. Now let's save, go back. Everything is in order. We navigate to the object view, we go back, and you can see that whenever we navigate to a view, it is placed in the root control so that we can see it, obviously. And if we move out of our application, we can see that the component is destroyed, and along with it our views are destroyed as well. That would be all for this video. Thank you all for watching, and see you in the next one.